What's up, everybody? Out the Pile 78 coming at you. I'm about to do this edit recipe. My goal is to try to get this header to distinguish whether the user's in the database or not. And I want it to be in the header, so the header is viewed inside the home controller. But before we go there, I just want to do the edit recipe and the delete recipe. Hopefully, we could get to that within 30 minutes. So, one of the first things we have to do is we have to go crazy because I wanted to, you see where it says show recipe right here? I want to be able to bring this back to the show dish to show that one recipe to show that we edited it and that it changed. And then we could go back to the dashboard or the index of the recipes, like, recipes and then, stuff like that nature. So what is the first thing we got to do? We got to make a view. All right. And a lot of people think that you have, a lot of times people will put like stuff in here. So I'm just going to show you something real quick. People will put like home. That's the controller slash you do the action, right? Or something, because I'm in here, and if I want to do the index, I just do the action, and then you do this slash, and inside the curly braces you would put like ID or something like that. You don't need to do that if you're using the ASP route and naming it ID. So we gotta they're not return yet. Public eye action, and we're gonna call this that's show dish, and this is we're gonna call this edit recipe. And the reason we're calling this one edit recipe, the post is gonna just be called edit. We're not gonna mess around with it. All right. So this is a get. I was told you could do a post of the same name. Now we'll try to do it like that. If it doesn't work, we won't do it that way. What do we need inside here? Well, we need an ID. So we're just gonna call it ID. I'm not gonna call it recipe ID and make it super long for nothing. This is like, return. Um, we're just gonna call it view for now. Okay. So what do we have to do first of all, right? We have to find out if this recipe, well, we call it variable, a recipe, right? We're trying to figure out. We could call it recipe like this for short. That's fine with me too. And we want to figure out where it comes from. Where did you come from, baby? So first or default. So my goal is try to make this the recipe that we want. What we need to pass it is the recipe ID, and when we pass it the recipe ID, we should be able to find it in the database with that recipe ID. So we call it recipe ID like that, and then that, I don't know why that keeps popping out. We call it rid dot recipe ID equals ID. So now we don't have to worry about finding a recipe with that recipe ID and all that other stuff. We just have the ID in here. So we found it. Yay, we found it. What we want to do here is we want to pass this recipe in for any to, but when we pass the recipe in, what's gonna happen is, well, first of all, we're gonna return the view edit recipe, or we gotta do it like that, and then we're gonna also pass in the recipe. You know why? Because that's what we want. But before we do that, so we could get what we want to actually, that's all we need, because that's all we editing. We're not editing the anything else. So that's, we don't need 3 lines like we did here because they have the include. I was thinking about including the recipe maker, but we would do that after. Okay, this should show all the information inside the recipe. Okay, with that being said and all that other goodness, what we have to do inside our view of recipe is look inside the index, right? That's where it is. Well, it should be show recipe. So in the show recipe, we're trying to see if we can edit it or not. The person that is editing the recipe should be the owner of that. So we have to do kind of like an if statement here. All right. So you see, you have the recipe maker. We should have the recipe ID in here as well. So how are we gonna make this so it shows everything, right? Well, the first thing is, do we have that little thing that we're doing? Okay, no, we don't have it here. Yes, we do. Chef and database. All right, so we're gonna use this right here, real quick, and we're gonna come over here to where we was at. I know we want to go to the show. Okay. You see how we have it, we're showing the dish and it's a view bag and everything like that. We also want to do another view bag right here. Dot user or chef, we can call it chef, equals chef in database like that. We press save. Okay. Let's make a space. Okay, let's make some comments here. So this is getting the recipe we clicked on. And now I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna let you know. I'm learning another way how to do this, so we don't have to have the all the information of a recipe maker. Like, we just want the ID of that recipe maker and stuff like that nature. So we could in the future not show it in the front end. We don't want to show the ID and password in the front end. And if we bring the recipe maker, we're gonna also bring the password. We don't want to show the password. You know, that's crazy. So let's say this. Getting the recipe we clicked on. Finding out. And that's another thing. We don't want to put the whole chef and database in the front end either. Right? So we could actually do this. We could call this a variable. And we put chef in database, you know, chef in DB right here, like that, lowercase, equals chef in database, like that, right? And then we remove this, and we'll put the viewback chef ID, because we don't want the whole chef in the front end. It's bad enough we have this in the front end. You know what I'm saying? We don't want that in the front end. We just wanted the name and stuff, but we had to include this. You know, maybe we could just put like the first name. Let me see. Let's see if we can fix it up and make it better for ourselves to make it safer. So we got the chef in the database, right? And we want to remove this and put chef in database dot chef ID. We don't want everything. We only want to see the chef ID. That's what we're trying to compare. We could call this ID capitalized, and viewback chef ID equals chef ID in database, chef in database dot chef ID. And the reason I can't take this out is because I need the first name, and I'm gonna need the ID. Can I make two inclusions here? And this is one of the reasons why people use in the models. They will use in the recipe model. They would actually put like chef ID in here above the recipe maker, so we could match it like that and make it a little bit safer. But let's see if we can make this a little bit safer by including the chef recipe that first name. Let's see if we could add another include, and if it makes sense, dot include recipe maker ID. Let's just put like that. Dot recipe ID. That nope. Chef ID. No, recipe maker. Dot chef ID. That's what we want. We don't want the whole thing out in the front. So those are two things we actually want. Let's see if we can make this work properly in the show dish, and then we can continue on with other stuff. Because honestly, when we do the show dish, we want to compare things here. So we got the recipe first name, and then the show back that show dish that recipe ID. You see what I'm saying? So that's the route. But we also want to do an if statement. If, and then we put this like this. We'll put this right here. I don't know what happened here. If, all right, at viewbag that, what is it, chef ID? Let's go back over here. Let's just copy this whole thing. Control C. Dot Control V is equal to viewbag dot show dish. Can't type today. Dot recipe maker. Dot recipe dot chef ID, right? Something like that. Should be like this. Hopefully we can see all this. And what this is gonna do, let me make this enter here. We're gonna click on here, hold the Alt button down and press up. Shift Alt F. Let's do all that. Let's delete some of this. Enter. And that was all highlighted, so you can't see nothing. So right here we're saying if this is equal to this, let's show them edit recipe. Else, let's not. And we could just say, we could just put a P tag here. Oh no, a P tag like that. It says that's just too much, but you know, it doesn't matter. It's not gonna be clicking. Okay, so where are we at? We are still on the edit recipe. So we needed to pass this in, and then we need to also create a Reddit because I'm going to the site, an edit recipe view, and the view is gonna go edit recipe. We don't have to worry about models right now. We are gonna use a recipe model. It's not a partial, so we could click add. Hopefully there's no errors. I didn't click the error list so you could see it. Hopefully there's no errors right here, so we could see everything perfect, and we'll find out. We will see. It looks like it's working so far, so good. Okay, we're literally gonna delete all that. We're gonna come into the chef view, and the chef. No, I'm sorry, we don't need that. The add recipe one, we're just gonna Control A, Control C. We're gonna exit that, edit recipe. So, and we're just gonna change this word to edit. We're gonna change this to post, and we're gonna give it the action of, the ASP/route/ID equals, and in here, yeah, we do this. I just need that. It doesn't matter. What did I do for the last time? Let's come over here. Let's check that one more time. I didn't do nothing for that one. All right. we should need the recipe. Oh no, the app model. No, we don't even need those. What am I talking about? We need this, and we need the app model dot recipe ID. And what this is saying, yo, bring this recipe model thing. Bring the recipe in that we are doing in the controller that we're passing right here from this edit recipe. So we're showing this view and we want this recipe to come in. Now we're not gonna edit it yet. We definitely know we need a post, but we're gonna try to see this. So let's see if this even works. If any of my stuff is not broken, if it's broken, then we'll delete the if statements and we'll come back to that. Log in, log out. We're logging in. That works. We recipes this all up to here should work. Hey is the guy there. I don't know who I logged in with, and we got an error because it's like it does not like this. I had a feeling this was also gonna happen, so basically we need to change that back to how we had it. Let's delete this up to here, and then just put this back over there like that. So we tried. So instead of, let's see, we got the dish and the show dish. We're passing the in the edit recipe, so this should be good. Okay, we could pass the chef in database. That would work. So the chef ID, And we know we could make another view bag. No, we should be good. Cause I kind of don't want to have the recipe maker in like that. So we could make a view bag for all of them. You know, like the recipe maker name, recipe maker, you know, everything would be like, you know, recipe first name, recipe ID. That's what we need. So like, if we wanted to do the show this one, if we didn't want to do show this one, we could put a variable here. We could keep the show dish, and then we could make another variable with the DB context of, you know, this or that. But for now, we're just gonna leave it like this. Let's press play. Hopefully this works without too much. So I'm trying not to show the whole chef inside the database, because, well, you bring it to the front, now they got passwords. Kind of like this. Like if you bring it to the front, like I show you, um, we could type in recipe ID here. I mean recipe maker that password here. Then they can see our password. So, you know, you could kind of like switch that out in the front end. We don't want that. So let's click here, and let's click Shift Alt and F to make all this look neater, how it should look. Hopefully this works. Let's double click it so we can get into the editing. We just want to see if everything right here is working properly. We will worry about this pretty soon. It's another if statement. I'm logging in with Hey. So view the dashboard. If I click now on this one, I should not get, I get this. Okay, so I'm getting this problem here. It says unable to handle occur while this problem. Okay, I guess it's this. Okay, this is the problem right here. I have two view bags. So let's delete one of those view bags. What? When did I add view bag twice? I don't even know. All right. Oh no, we want that. We want that. Should be a capital. Let's save that. Let's try one time. You guys didn't see none of that. All right. I don't care what the video showed you. So let's try one more time. We're logging in with Hey. Log in. Your recipes. So if I click here, I should see nothing over here, which is weird. Oh, show this. So you see it says delete recipe here, but it should be edit recipe. I don't know why I typed delete. So let's go backwards and let's go to where I did and see it says edit recipe now. You could actually see edit recipe. So it's showing you this A delete recipe, which we will work on too. It should have also showed you this P tag. Else you're not the chef for this dish. It should have showed you both. All right, before I go any further, I'm sorry, I cannot deal with that anymore. We're gonna go to our CSS. We're gonna go, is it P styles that border, we're gonna do a solid border, solid purple, 2 picks. I like purple. And we will do the P tags with height. Height. And it's let's see, 20 VH, is that what it is? It's not giving me an error. So width, we're gonna do 30 V8 through VW, I'm sorry. And that should change a lot, and it's gonna look better. So what was we at? We saw that if you're the person, you can edit it. So let's see what happens when we click on edit. Nothing should happen because we didn't do the posting yet. So let's find out. Log in one more time. Mr. Hey today, baby, I got your money. Hopefully, oh man, did I not save it? Oh man, hold on. Let's Control Shift R. There you go. Well, sometimes your meatballs. Sometimes your stuff looks real dumb, and like I mean your stuff doesn't. So what I'm looking for is giving me everything I want, but sometimes your stuff don't look good. Or you know your stuff doesn't show like you want it to. I mean your CSS is not showing you like you changed it, and you do a Control Shift R, and it's like a hard reboot refresh. But as you see, I'm still here. So I'm still in the database, or else this wouldn't work. And see, if I was logged out, you see that backspace and reset, You shouldn't see any of that. It's like, yo, there's a problem. You're logged out. You're not in the database no more. So we have to put we have to do some stuff to make sure this given that equals chef in database is like you know, we gotta see if this is not null. So we gotta do an if statement here now. If chef in DB is not null, then we come here and do alt and up like that, and then oh, what happened? Oh, that's not what I wanted. To make it look better, delete one and delete this one. Okay, let's. So now that error won't happen again. That's cool. But as you saw when you logged in and stuff, so let's just go back to the edit recipe because we had 20 minutes because this is what we're gonna need to do now, right? First things first. We trying to find this if recipe is not null, right? Is not null. This is very important because if it's null, that means I'm not logged in or something, and nobody should be here. If it's not null, well, guess what? We good. So, oh no, we're not. That's good. We don't need this. We shouldn't need that here. We're gonna add a recipe. My bag. Let's rewind this, and let's come here. HTTP post. All right. And we want a public iAction, and we could just call it edit, right? That's good enough for me. And your edit is gonna need a recipe. Oh, come on, recipe, and we call it recipe. Don't matter what we call it. And an integer ID. And the reason we want the integer ID is because it's gonna be passed in edit recipe right here. We always want to grab that right back. And when we do a return action, well, I'll show you. We have to show them that. So we need that. And since I want to go back to the show recipes, let's make sure everything is good first. Let's just copy this right here. There's no sense to making all this extra work for no reason. Now, we can't call this variable recipe. We call it recipe like that. Everything's fine now. It's like, yo, we got it. And this recipe is coming from the form. Let me explain this first. First of all, the recipe itself is coming from the form. So we don't need to put a route for that. Secondly, the ID is coming from the recipe that was pushed into here from the show recipe, right? Right here. See that? So with the edit recipe, we're pushing recipe to the front. And that's for this right here, so we could automatically generate what's already in it. The second one is, the other one is being pushed from here. When we do this right here, we want to push it over to here. We don't have to do much about show dish, it should already know. Plus the view bag is finding the show dish, so we're good there. All right, so now we come down here and we're doing the same thing as far as getting this. And now we gotta see if rec is not equal. Oops, that's not equal to null. Then we're gonna go further in there and do another if statement and if model state, because you know models state that is valid. Okay, if it's valid, we need to know. That's a good thing. We want it to be valid. Okay. What we're gonna do with this valid information? Well, since this is coming from the form and the database of this exact same recipe, what we're looking up to needs to be changed. Well, we need to get the stuff out the stuff. We need to get the recipe stuff from in here to in here. So it's real simple. What are we changing? The only things we're changing is the name, recipe name, right? So it gets recipe dot recipe name. That's simple. Recipe dot ingredients, right? Is gonna get, you got it. It's the same thing. Everything's the same thing. The rec recipe is gonna get directions, right? These are all the things we actually want to change. Recipe dot That's right. And the only thing that's different that we're changing slightly different is we want the update at, right? Updated at. You see how this came into play? Date time dot now. So this is saying change this to the what we edited it right this moment versus what the creation is, and we can always see that later. But I'm not in the mood to see it now. So those are the only things that we need to really change. Now a lot of people say, how come we just can't put REC gets recipe? Well, first of all, that's a good idea, but it's still looking for, I am this recipe and this is the old information originally. This recipe is giving me the new information. It's only giving me three things that are new. So when it's trying to get recipe, it's not the whole thing. So it's confusing it. So we have to separate it. Maybe a mapper could do it, but I'm not using a mapper right now. It's called AutoMapper. So this is updating the recipe, right? So now that we have that, what do we have to do now? DB context dot recipes, right? Because this recipe is gonna have the maker and everything else that came with it. It's the ID. It's the match from this ID to this recipe ID. So it's the perfect match. It's already all there. So now we're saying recipes. This is the table. Now we're looking at the update, right? Control dot. Okay, we're not worried about that. We should be able to put rec in there, and then that's it. That's See when it says, "Hey, what's the range or whatever?" This is the range. This is everything we want. And what's the last thing we want to do in here? You got it. You got it, buddy. Save changes, and I don't know what happened there, and I don't know why I didn't press Control Z first. Now, what do we want to do here? Well, in here, my friend, we want to return redirect to action. So what do we want to redirect to action? Okay, we want to go to show recipe, right? Show dish, I mean. Thank God I wrote it. Show dish. But we also want to pass in the ID. However, if we pass the ID in like this, we're going to get a crazy error. And the problem with that error is that it's kind of confusing. All right? Because even in the context, it only passes an object in the context I was reading from the documents from MSD. So I'm like, okay, I don't get it. Well, Stack Overflow and forgot the person's name, but I'm gonna give him a shout out on one of the places I went in Discord. Said you have to do this: new at ID gets ID, and this could actually just be a number. All right, this could be any number we want, but we want it to be this ID number. So when it goes to show dish, is accepting it right here, and it can find the exact recipe we're looking for. So when we actually show it, it's like, oh, okay, this is what we found. This is the recipe we're looking for. Now this is saying, hey, at this ID, give it this ID number. This number. Okay, that's if everything is grand, right? This is still underlined, like, yo, man, what's going on? I need to return this. If everything doesn't work, then what? Well, that's a simple one too. We're gonna return the view, right? And I like to put the name of this view, edit. Oh, hold on, what am I doing? It's edit recipe. So we're saying, hey, let's edit this recipe. That's why I named it like that. And then when we actually do the function, or this part right here, the post, it's saying, yeah, edit it. But if it comes back and it's not in this if this is null, it's gonna come back and push all this. This shouldn't work if it's null. I mean, the recipe should never be null because it's gonna be passed through, the form. But if it's empty or something like that, then we need to say, yo, man, what's wrong with you, man? And I'll show you what I mean. So let's see if this works. I hope this works, so we can get delete on. I'll get delete the next one, and then we'll worry about the if statements and stuff like that, and see why it didn't work with a p-tam thingamajiggy, but it worked with this. All right, so let's press play here. Let's pray to God it worked, because I'm at 29 minutes, 38 seconds. Okay, we're gonna log in and register. View recipes. Okay, I logged in with Hey, so let's do this. You see everything is there. We can't do nothing, so we not the author of that recipe. So we're gonna do one better. We're gonna put it over here. If not the author recipe, then you know you can't. It's not gonna be highlighted or something. So Hey could do this. Now we could make this a little smaller. This boxes, that's fine. Um, well, this is not allowed to be empty. Oh wow, this didn't work. This is not working. To oh, it's not an edit recipe. That's why. So if it's on edit recipe, you'll see all these things you can't do. And now we're seeing the edit recipe one. So this edit recipe, that's what that did for us. So let's can we can't control Z. Let's go back as Al's meatballs, right? And let's put with cheese or something like that. That's how I was working on other stuff. And put in the oven now. I'm starving. Full. Okay, that sounds good. So it should go back and you should see it with cheese and this other stuff. Hopefully we did it right. Let's see what happens when we press it. I went back to here, which is all recipes. And it should have went back. Let's see, that's this. Oh, it added another recipe. Why is it adding another recipe? Oh, wow. We added another recipe instead of editing another recipe. So that's not what we wanted to do. This should have worked just fine with cheese and stuff. Let's put that in. This it keeps adding. I keep adding. I didn't put add. I put update. It should have just updated this. Okay. So I see what I did wrong. We don't need this. We just need to save the changes because this is already getting the recipe from the database, and now we're gonna save the changes to that. That's all we need. We shouldn't need anything else. Now save changes. I guess when you update it, it just adds a new one of the same instance into the database, which is kind of weird to me. So let's try that. Let's try that one more time. Okay, one more time to blow our minds. If it works, I'm gonna stop this video, and then we're gonna go to deleting a recipe. Rah. Okay, let's do here. Let's go here. New recipes, and we go to Al's meatballs, and we could edit this recipe. And we're gonna change that too. We're gonna make it better so we can edit it on the top. You don't have to worry about it. So we're gonna call this one Al's meatballs, the greatest on earth. And then that's all we're gonna change because we've seen that. I'm gonna control X this so I can always put it back. We're gonna see that if we don't have that happens. So let's add that recipe. Oh, we're adding the recipe. No. Oh, the greatest. It's just adding the recipe again. I'll meet with the greatest. Okay, I think I got an idea what it could be. It's not this down here at all. It's the edit recipe. It's the post. The act because I copied and paste. I didn't put edit recipe. So it's adding the recipe. Okay. So it should be edit recipe because that's the action we actually want. Actually, it should just be edit because recipe this is where it's at. We're already in the edit recipe. We wanted to edit it. That's the post one called. All right. So your mistake, my bag, and we're gonna go into changing the top one again. You know, let's log on with Al the Pal, and let's edit the let's edit Chris's Burger. It'd be so much easier to see. So Chris's Burger, we're gonna have Chris Burger, no cheese. There you go. Okay, now we're gonna edit this recipe. But first of all, let's see if it works. Let's Control X, and that still works. Control V. Now it should work. I was like, why does it keep adding it? Did I press it? Okay, now I pressed it, and it might have edited, but this is not sending it to the right spot. So let's see what happened there. We on the edit recipe. Let's see. As we controllers, we want to redirect to show dish. Where's show dish? Did I say it right? Show dish. Let's copy and paste this in case. Copy. Now the only thing we could do different with this return redirect to action, the only thing that we need to do different there, that if we wanted it to do different, is we could also put the controller, which is the recipe controller, and then comma, and that shouldn't make a difference. And we just gonna Control V, S, and then it should redirect to here, which we're passing in IAD, so you should get everything. And if we don't do it, this worked properly. So let's see what happened. I believe it edited it, but we'll find out if it edited it. About 35 minutes. Oh, Lord have mercy. I'm gonna have to redo this whole video if it keeps getting too long. Let's go to Alapal and let's log in. View recipes. So Chris Burger did not change, and his burger, blah blah blah. Alapal. That's the guy that did it. Was me. I can edit that. Chris Burger with no cheese. So this should work. Chris Burger with no cheese. It took me to the right spot, right? So we just want to go to index here now, right? Oh no, recipe index, and we go to here. It shows all our stuff. Chris Burger with no cheese. Blah 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 blah. So now the next video, what I'm gonna do. Hey, we're all human, and I'm glad I'm having these mistakes in there, because I'm pretty sure a lot of us, or a lot of other people that see this video, probably had the exact same mistakes and couldn't figure it out. Sometimes that happens to me. I'm like, wow, I couldn't figure out. I literally couldn't figure out this. I had to ask somebody on Discord. So yeah, and because I never seen this part before, because I never had to do that. It didn't transfer because of this. It transferred because I got all the names properly done. Oh, I do want to tell you one thing. This ID, integer of ID, let's stop it, has to be the same here to pass it to show integer ID. And also on the edit recipe, it has to be on the route. It has to be the exact same name. You can't capitalize it. It won't know what it is. If you capitalize it, it'll change the name right here. That's the route of ID. That's, so you don't have to put a route like that. That's a simple way of doing it. Once again, we will figure out some more stuff later, and we'll be pushing the names forward later on, and then trying to make it safer. So we won't have to use the creator's ID or something like that, in there. So let's make it safer. But let's work on delete now. So let me stop this video. We work on delete now.